What's up, y'all? It's your boy eBay Predictions, and I will be breaking down Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje, man. The fucking main event in UFC 254 for the lightweight title of the world. This is such an awesome fight. I'd be lying to y'all if I told you I wasn't hyped. But in terms of let's look at the stats. In terms of records, Khabib comes in 28-0. His nationality, obviously from Russia. He's not fighting out of San Jose. I think he's fighting out of Dubai right now, and he's fighting out of Dagestan. That's where he's been doing most of his training camp. Age 32, height 5'10", reaches 70. Gaethje comes in 22-2, fights out of Colorado. Age 31, height of 5'11", so he's a little taller, and reaches 70. I think, when you look at the stats, they're not that much different, man. They're almost kind of built for each other. But in terms of notable wins for Khabib, you're really looking at, in my humble opinion, you're looking at Dustin, Conor, and Dos Anjos. Those are, I think, his best three wins. I know a lot of people might argue with the Dos Anjos pick because when it happened and Dos Anjos wasn't the guy, and it is what it is. But I honestly feel like, I would have put Edson in there for him, but I think I think the way Gaethje beat Edson is more notable. So when I think about Gaethje's most notable wins, you're looking at Tony Ferguson, Cowboy Cerrone, and Edson Barboza. I know a lot of people are kind of down on Cowboy, but when Gaethje beat Cowboy, he was a top 5 guy. This is a guy that beat Ally Quinta before, who obviously we all know now he had inflated ranking just because he beat Kevin Lee, who was also in there because Kevin had beat Edson. So, Gaethje, those 3 wins are great, but really, when you think about their wins that really solidified them as the best lightweights in the world, I think Gaethje's win over Tony and Khabib's win over Dustin, where it's like, man, they had beautiful performances. I watched a lot of tape on these guys, and, you see certain things, you see evolution, right? So I basically I watched a lot of Khabib's fights, right from Michael Johnson all the way up to now. And in that Michael Johnson fight, I will say one thing. I know a lot of people talk about the way how Michael Johnson stunned him, and people bring that up. But what's interesting that people don't bring up is that Michael stuffed takedowns. He stuffed 2 takedowns, I think, in the second round from Khabib. Now, Michael, I think he was a junior college wrestler, but we all know Michael's more of a striker than anything. That's who he is. But he was able to actually stuff some takedowns, which a lot of people don't bring up for Michael. I find that to be interesting. Edson Barboza was just, complete domination. He broke Edson. He backed him up a lot. He just was so free in that fight, and he just did not care. Even in the striking sense, some of that fight was even on the feet, and Edson just wasn't able to maintain the composure he wanted, and it is what it is. Now, here's the most interesting fight. If you're a Gaethje fan, you really got to watch this fight, the Ally Quinta fight. How really did well in that. Al did so good in that fight. I don't think he won one round. He didn't win one round. He lost every aspect of the fight. He got taken down a whole bunch. Even in the striking, he lost. He didn't win. He was getting jabbed up by Khabib. But there were certain things I saw. And Al's another junior college wrestler, D3 guy. He's not that good of a wrestler, but he's a decent wrestler where he has the background. I'd say he's a better wrestler than Johnson because he actually goes for takedowns. But man, what he was able to do, especially in the 4th and 3rd round, where he was able, to stuff those low singles and kind of just, stalk Khabib a little bit. The biggest problem with Al, he does this thing where he goes for head, he'll slip his head so he can get that counter in. He did it to Kevin Lee. Beautifully in the 5th round. Greatest Ally Quinta performance of all time. But this one, I think he was scared to let his hands go because of the takedown. So I think that's the number one thing you got to really, really look at. But man, Al looked so good in those 2 specific rounds I'm talking about. Go watch them. I think all these are on YouTube. But man, Al, to this day, man, I give him a lot of credit for that performance. I think on a day's notice too. So next fight, Conor McGregor, another guy that doesn't get enough credit for how well he did against. I feel like we give these guys credit a little. I'll just say myself. I give a lot of these guys credit, but at the end of the day, they did lose. They lost a lot of the rounds. Like Conor, I think won the 3rd round, but even Al, Edson, even Michael Johnson, they lost every single round. They had moments though. But against Conor, he did really well in the first round, trying to stuff that takedown. He was able to stay with him in that scramble. I think Conor gets a lot of slack for his grappling. I think his grappling isn't that bad. I think it's decent, but the way Conor was able to deal with Khabib that first round, it was impressive. I was more impressed with that first than the third that everyone says Conor won. I think Conor won because it was on the feet, but I was like Khabib was clinching up with him a lot. You could even give that round to Khabib. I think it was more of a pity round for Conor than anything. You see that a lot. You see someone do better, but they're not necessarily like doing a lot better. You'll kind of give it to them because you feel bad because they lost really badly in the round prior. So I think that's why he got it. But I give Conor a lot of credit for this performance he had against Khabib. You know, I don't like the excuses about the training he makes because he picked the date. Because I think Proper 12 was coming out then, and he wanted to do the pay-per-view on the release date. So I don't like that. But I will say one thing. I really do believe he gave 110% to this camp, and he did for a guy that I did not like at the time. I did not respect his grappling skills. He really impressed me. He showed out, and good on him. And then Dustin Poirier was insane. I don't like saying this word a lot, but he made Khabib really made Dustin quit. That's a fact, y'all. There were certain moments in that fight where I think Dustin just got really overwhelmed by the grappling pressure and the grappling transitions, and he just exploded in areas. Even when they were standing, he was swinging, giving 110% shots. He didn't pace himself properly. He probably overestimated how good his gas tank was. And in that third round, I don't like saying it, but he quit, man. He just was tired. Even Khabib said he was just so tired. He was done. And he went for the guillotine, and then he transitioned. I remember Khabib didn't even have one of those hooks in, for his he didn't even have hooks in properly. If I remember, it was almost like the grip strength it made him quit. You could even hear him on the corner where he was talking to his coaches. He was like, "Man, I can't get this motherfucker off me." I think he said that verbatim. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's what he said word for word, and it kind of made him quit. So that's probably, in my opinion, I think Khabib's it might be one of his greatest performances. I know a lot of people bring up the Edson Barboza one, but I think that one I was really impressed. Now Gaethje, the fights I really watched for this, for my film study and stuff like that, that I really watched a lot. I started right from the first fight in the UFC from Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson did take Gaethje down. Let's say that. Let's be honest, y'all. I even watched the fight before, which is super interesting. I think y'all should watch this. I think it's on YouTube. Luis Firmino. It's he won by Gaethje won by doctor stoppage. This guy Luis was able to take him down. It was in the World Series of Fighting. I think it's on YouTube. He's able to take him down a lot. Now Gaethje was able to scramble out of all these, and I think the biggest point I will talk about that guys that did take down Gaethje, and I'll talk about it more, is about surprise takedowns, and those are real, right? So I watched the Michael Johnson fight. He was just a fucking warrior in there, y'all. He was a goddamn warrior in there, man. He was just able to just pressure, and just break Johnson. But Johnson had a lot of beautiful counters in there, and he was able to take advantage. He went for a few takedowns, and he was able to do well in there. Eddie Alvarez, I think Eddie Alvarez's greatest performance of his career. The body shots he put on Gaethje, and that led to the knee. I mean, such a beautiful performance by Eddie, man. Good on you for knocking him out too, man. You got to also understand, this was probably a setup fight for Gaethje when you think about it. They were trying to, Eddie was, he was coming off that controversial win over Dustin, and then he got knocked out. It was either a DQ. It was a DQ. The first Dustin fight with Eddie was a DQ. A lot of people forget that. But and then Eddie had got knocked out by Conor. He got embarrassed. I think this was a setup fight for Gaethje, I'm being honest. And for him to persevere through that was, amazing. And then again, Dustin Poirier was able to take down Gaethje. It's obviously it's a lot different. It's, again, surprise takedown. I think this is the last time he got taken down in the UFC. Dustin's not a good grappler, but here's the thing. If I really don't expect you to take me down, you can catch me sometimes. That's just the truth. and you're throwing punches. You gotta understand, you're throwing like say you throw a hook, like you need your arms to like I know your legs are super important, your hips, but also your arms and your hands help with a good sprawl, right? And he just didn't have it. I think he went for a hook, and then Dustin level changed and got him down. But again, another great performance by Dustin. Like Eddie was a little better because it just the things behind it and some of the things Eddie was going through, but Dustin just showed out. Especially in that fourth round, where he was able to time Gaethje when Gaethje was trying to like over pressure him and just hit him good. So yeah, that's one of the things I was looking at. But yeah, this is when I do wonder sometimes. A lot of people say Gaethje changed after this. I don't know, but I will say one thing: he started knocking people out after this. James Vick knocked him out in the first round. You know what's special about that knockout, and a lot of people don't talk about, and what I think could be very scary for Khabib. If you look at the Khabib fight with Ali Quinta, Joe Rogan was talking. He got a lot of flack for it, but what Khabib would do against Al, he would jab, 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 and he'd go like this. Y'all see, like you see the problem there, where if someone was to double up over the jab hand and connect to the right, I'm protecting my face here, and I'm having my that's a problem. James Vick did that. Now he didn't do that necessarily where he had his hands out like that, but he was like this, right? And if you look at his legs and his stance when he got pressured to the cage, now Gaethje went for it the first time and then he clinched up, right? But the problem with it the second time is that he didn't clinch up, and he kind of timed him a little bit. He was like, I think I can get him. I think I can I can double up on that right. And James Vick's legs were so square. Like he had no stance. He had no angle to his stance. His legs were so square. He was stuck on the cage, and he was already leaning here, and the punch was coming there, right? Like there was another punch he got thrown at it, and he started like he almost kind of like it wasn't even a slip. He just like backed away from it kind of scarily. There was no technique to it, and he got hit again, and it was just like that's a bad like habit he developed, where like he wasn't just not slipping, but. And that's the thing with Khabib is that I think Khabib can get he sometimes even gets Al. There were moments against Al where like Al would double up with a like Al has a really good 1-2, right? And Al would double up with that 1-2, and Khabib would become square. But Al was just so scared to like let his hands go because he was like I might get taken down, right? And that's the thing with guys. It's like guys, the reaction timing for certain moves won't come in sometimes, but they'll eventually have it for their next fight or the fight prior. But sometimes there's certain things about styles make fights. But if let's say Gaethje is turned on that day and that split second reaction, and that all the drills he's doing on his pads, all the things he's doing with his sparring partners, all the things he's doing on the heavy bag comes in, and he gets Khabib in that position, I think he has a really good chance of knocking out Khabib. You look at the Edson Barboza fight; he was able to clinch up. Now this is a lot different. All these knockouts happened, besides the Cerrone one, happened through pressure, right? If Justin can get a moment like Al did against Khabib, he's gonna have to fight like how he fought against James Vick, Edson, right? But he's not gonna be able to do it in the first round. He's gonna have to do it in the fourth and third. Really, those rounds where Khabib kind of plays around sometimes. But I think against Edson, that fucking that lead hook that he hit Edson with, and just Edson was backing up and was able to catch him on the chin. I know some people complain about the eye poke. It's the name of the game. You take your L. It is what it is. I don't usually complain about stuff like that. If I picked Edson and I seen an eye poke, I just accept the fact that Edson lost at the end of the day. But he got Edson with it. Now Cerrone was a lot interesting. Cerrone was actually pressuring Gaethje, and if you look at that fight, how he was able, it was almost like it was a pullback counter. He was able, I wouldn't say he used his head as bait. But he pulled his head back and then hit him with that right and got him clean. I don't think Khabib will ever give a moment like that to Gaethje, because I don't think he's gonna fight him like that. I don't think he'll fight guys like Edson who don't like backing up, who do terrible backing up. But I think Khabib knows that the only time he's ever gonna go forward is if he's going for a takedown. That's the only time he's ever gonna do it, right? So that was a beautiful performance by him, and I think. The next performance up, Tony Ferguson. I don't want to say he made Tony Ferguson quit. I think Tony Ferguson just got hit up, and I think he's just shaking his head. But man, I watched that fight again. That might have been one of the most. Oh my! I forgot how bad of a beating it was. The first time I watched it, it was terrible, and I felt for Tony. You could just see, like, each round. You just think about the achievements he had, the win streak he had. Beating Dos Anjos, beating Pettis, beating Cerrone. Like, let's look at what you know. Let's look at this. Let's actually look at Tony's record. Beating Cerrone, beating Pettis, beating Kevin Lee, beating Dos Anjos, Lando Venata, Edson Barboza, Josh Thompson, Gleason Tebow. You could just see Abel Trujillo, Danny Castillo. Like, all that is going away. All that work is going away. And Gaethje was literally taking away from. You could just see, like, everything that he paid for a title shot was gone. It was so sad. I wouldn't call myself a Tony fan. I actually picked Gaethje for that fight, but I just didn't think he was gonna do him like that. Like, he beat the fight out of him, low key. Like I wouldn't say the fight out of him, but he just beat. Like, this guy that we all think about, Tony Ferguson, this, like, scary boogeyman. He just beat that out of him. Like, the aura, the win streak, everything was gone after that. And it was just like the thought of us seeing a fight like a Tony versus Khabib was just, it's over. And obviously we got a better fight. I never really felt that. I got over it eventually. Like, after Rona, and they said they were gonna have Tony fight what's his face, Gaethje. I was like, you know what, this is stupid by Tony. Why would he accept this fight? He's just throwing away his own damn title shot at this point. So it is what it is. But so I've talked about all the fights I've watched from these guys, and even the World Series of Fighting fight that I had watched. But this is just one of these situations where I think Gaethje has a great chance. I really do. I think what he can do in this fight, the sprawls, the leg kicks, everything he talked about on the Rogan podcast, I like. But at the end of the day, I just don't see him surviving under that pressure. I just don't think he can. I think Khabib's pressure that he's going to put on him, the takedowns he's going to go for. I know Gaethje's a good wrestler. I'm not saying that. He's a good Division I wrestler. But he's not he's an All-American, but he's not a national champion. Right? He's just not that guy. And I know a lot of I remember even the countdown they did for Tony and Gaethje. They tried to lie about that and say he was a national champion. No, he's an All-American, and that's cool to be an All-American, But I remember when Israel Adesanya was fighting Derek after he beat Derek Brunson, he was like, "Oh, he's an All-American." No, he's a Division II All-American. A lot of people don't know what an All-American is. It's basically if you win a few matches in the tournament, in a national tournament, and nothing wrong with that. But you can be like the number 8 guy in the tournament and be an All-American, right? That's a good. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to diss anybody or anything, like, and be like, oh, this and that. Like, I was a wrestler, and I lost at the state championships, right? Like, I didn't get seeded, right? But I know that there's levels to this game, and I don't think Gaethje's wrestling isn't something Khabib hasn't seen in the training room. Has it been in the octagon? It's a completely different story, but I just don't. It has to be, I feel like something has to go wrong for Khabib so Gaethje can win. I don't want to say something like flukish, but like some mistake has to be made. If both you guys don't make mistakes, I think we see Al Iaquinta versus Khabib again. I've seen Gaethje get tired before. That's one thing. I've seen him get tired against Eddie. He kind of gassed out a little bit. I know obviously everyone says he's different, and he looked amazing against Tony, but I just think styles of this fight, just it kind of goes Khabib's way. I think it's hard, but I don't think Gaethje can beat him. He really has to, and I say this again, he has to depend on something going wrong. And I think I'm going by Khabib by decision. That's my prediction. I know a lot of people might be a little disappointed by that, but that's just what I'm going with. That's how I'm feeling. I like Gaethje a lot. Nothing against the guy. He's an awesome fighter. I have one of my subscribers is a big Gaethje fan, and but yeah, I think Gaethje takes the L to Khabib. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is it for your breakdown. Go follow me on Twitter. Go follow me on Instagram. And eBay predictions out. Love y'all and goodbye.